Right, well, what a surprise. I was not expecting this in any way whatsoever. And I really do have to thank you most profusely for the effort you've put in to organising this session. And it's obvious that you've been organising it for some time because, you know, I know things like this fantastic sculpture can't suddenly materialise. This is months and months and months of work. And as I just said, I have to say, of most of the busts I've seen, I've wondered, does this really look like His Majesty? This one most definitely does, and you have the nose almost to a T. Listen, I wasn't intending to make any grand speech, but I feel very much emotionally requiring a release of the joy that I'm experiencing from seeing you all, and indeed being offered so many wonderful gifts which represent your culture and lifestyle. And to share those, which I'll take away much of the notes that are attached to the gifts to study and to understand. Now, I just want to make a small correction, if I may. My title actually is Lord Lieutenant, and not Lieutenant. Okay? Now, a lot of people make that mistake. The Lieutenant bit's a bit American, and of course His Majesty is not American, and therefore we follow the English, British way of saying it, which is Lord Lieutenant. This is not to chastise. This is just to make sure that nobody reports me for not correcting, as it were, the protocols. And I know that you've been working very hard, sir, on the protocols by virtue of the fact that you referred to me as my Lord Lieutenant. So you must have been reading something somewhere about those protocols. I've been fascinated, as I say, in terms of the mugging up I've done for joining you today. I was expecting to meet the trustees of the organisation and just to share some of the challenges which you're facing in life today and perhaps in the community centre, so that I can add those to the list of other things which I'm looking at across the region. Why am I looking at these things? Well, His Majesty appointed me some time ago to further his priorities in the region. And his priorities are varied. Some of you know that he's got a keen interest in things like climate change. He's interested, obviously, in the members of the Commonwealth and potentially future members of the Commonwealth as well. He's very, very concerned about culture and the ways in which different citizens and communities in this country reflect their country in culture in a respectful way. And you've done that, certainly, for me today. But he's crucially concerned about his communities across the nations. He's concerned that communities work together and, more importantly, reflect the values and active citizenship that holds communities together. We call that community cohesion. To get to that point of community cohesion, you need active citizens. And as I've come up the stairs here today, I've been reflecting on how this community has demonstrated that active community spirit. What I mean by active citizenship is quite simple. Somebody in the community that sees a problem, they don't just moan about it. They say, right, what can I do about it? Who can I get around me to join in sorting that thing up? They roll their sleeves up. They get what is necessary in terms of the tools or the other organisations, etc., and they sort out the challenge. Yep. They do that not just for themselves, and their own communities, they look around them as well and they say, what else can we do to make this place that we now call home a better place? So the evidence that I've seen thus far suggests to me that the Kurdish community across our region has already bought into the spirit and the idea of active citizens and active communities. And His Majesty, I'm sure, would wish to thank you most profusely for the work that you've done in a relatively short period of time when you look at the kind of history and the length of period that the substantive Kurdish community has been in the country. So we've talked a bit about the past, we've talked a bit about the present. What about the future? Well, the future, for me, you've already started to colour in. The relationship between our respective nations and respective countries is evident in what you've done here today, and I shall certainly find ways of passing on the warmth that I've experienced from today's event. But for the future, as you know, the West Midlands in itself has many challenges, and I am here for the West Midlands as well as being here, obviously representing His Majesty. And I know you have many challenges as well. For the future, my hope is that I and my colleagues, like John here as Deputy Lieutenant, can be available to listen, perhaps from time to time to advise, or even correct, but mostly to be supportive of the things you want to do and feel that you need to do to make your continued contribution to British society. So let's hail that future going forward. And once again, may I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the reception, the warm reception I've received thus far.